I'll say that again. Let me formally welcome you to the Master of Education, Science Education professional cohort delivered online here through the University of British Columbia. My name's David Anderson, and this is my colleague Marina Milner-Bolton. Want to say hi?
Hello. Welcome.
Welcome. And those for you just joining us, if you just mute your microphones and turn your cameras off, that will be helpful. So we're going to take you through a session this afternoon for about 30 minutes and just talk to you a bit about the program, its characteristics, and most importantly, how you go about applying. And also we're going to be hearing from some of our current students in the program, so you get a first-hand report about the experience of a graduate student doing these online programs, because we're already running our second cohort, about to run our second cohort, which will be this one, starting in September. So I have a little agenda, which I'll just bring up. Thanks, Yvette. Of course, this is us out in UBC here in Vancouver. Next slide. Okay, so today's information session, a little bit of an introduction from us about the program, about the schedule of how the courses roll out. We're going to hear from some of our current students, in particular Laura and Christina. And Yvette, who is with us at the moment, will share with you the application and admission process, and then we'll open it up for general questions and answers to answer all of your questions that you've got as you're trying to wrap your head around whether you are interested in applying to the program. So a summary of the program itself. This is a master's degree program at the University of British Columbia. It's administrated through the Vancouver campus, but of course it's online, 100% online. So that means that you can do this program anywhere in Canada or the world for that matter, without the need to come to UBC itself physically. And that's a great benefit for many busy teachers like all of you, who, even though you may live in the city of Vancouver or Burnaby or Coquitlam, it's quite a challenge to get out here to UBC Vancouver to attend classes. And of course, you don't need to do that. This is an online program, so it's run asynchronously, and you can do it as a part of your own scheduling during your work weeks. So it's a 2-year, 1-term program. It's designed for currently practicing teachers, community educators, or those seeking careers in education. The application deadline is March the 2nd. And it's open to all disciplines, to those in mathematics, science, education, technology, and I think my next slide we might have, we've got a slide coming up, but there is in fact a new program which is coming out just for mathematics educators. So if you're a math teacher, or you've got colleagues who are math teachers who are interested in doing their graduate work, there's a special program which we're also launching this year. Amrita and Lauren, just make sure you shut your mic off and your video off. That would be helpful just to reduce the ambient noise. Thanks so much. So a little bit about the history of the program. UBC's had a long history in science education. So we've been involved in doing graduate programs in science education for 30 years. Long before Marina and I were here, there were professors before us who were working in the science education program and responsible for administrating the Master of Education and Science Education degree. But more recently, in the last couple of years, we've been realising that there's really a need to deliver this beyond the boundaries of the city of Vancouver, particularly as the city of Vancouver has grown over the last number of years with population and traffic and transportation issues. It's become very difficult for teachers who want to get graduate degrees and do their masters to come out physically to UBC campus, and so we decided to put this online. And so it's the exact same program that is offered face-to-face, but in an online delivery. So of course the program is updated all of the time, so it's not the same program as 30 years ago, because we keep pace with changing developments in research and educational practices. It's a very contemporary program. It's taught by professors who are at the cutting edge of their field in science education, particularly as it relates to K-12 education, but also beyond that. The program, as I mentioned, went online for the first time about a year and a half ago or so, and we're recruiting now for our second intake, which begins in September of 2020. So the program, as I mentioned before, is one of a number. So we have the science education program. We also have the Master of Mathematics education program, which is online. And in the pipes working to be approved right now is a Master of Media and Technology Studies in Education. So if you have colleagues who are mathematicians, math teachers, they may be interested in that. If you go to pdce.edcu.ubc.ca Math Ed, you'll find the program. But today we're going to talk about the science education program. Okay, you want to tell us a bit about the history of the program, Marina, in terms of like where we've got to in this point?
I would like to give you a big overview so you understand how the program was born. So David and I and our colleagues realized that it's unrealistic today to expect teachers to come to UBC. And also, as you know, BC is a huge province, and then we realized the advantages of having teachers from all over the world and all over the country, because rarely do science teachers have an opportunity to talk to the new curriculum in Ontario, new curriculum in Quebec. So we have a very unique opportunity to provide this in our courses. So when we designed this program, we also realized, and both David and I, we've been teaching online for a while. Yeah, you've been teaching about for 20 years.
No? Maybe 12 years.
Oh, 12, sorry. You look much older than that. I thought you've been teaching forever. No.
Teaching forever, but not online.
Yeah, not online. But anyways, so I've been teaching for about 10 years, since 2010 online. You've been teaching for 12. And we realized the advantages of online because there is much more of a community, isn't it?
Very strong.
A very strong community, a lot of exchanges, a lot of connections. But then we also realized that a lot of science teachers want a science-specific cohort. And I think that was the biggest motivator, that when you want to talk about science, you want to have people who have similar interests. It can be elementary science educators, it can be secondary, but I'm not trying to diminish anybody in other fields, but there is an advantage of being surrounded by the people who have similar challenges to yours. So at that point, David, you came and said, let's come up with a program that tries to bring those science educators. I have to say that you have created a museum education program a little before that. So David had a lot of experience of how to bring people from different geographical areas together who have similar interests, and we used a lot of this experience to create the Masters of Education in Science Education, and we decided to test it 2 years ago. And when we tested that, we were surprised how many applications we had with very little advertising. We had twice as many applications that we could accept, and so this told us that it's really something much needed. So as you can see, we wanted to bring together people from different geographic and also areas. Some are museum educators in the area of science. Some work in the industry as science facilitators. So we have people together who are science, and I like that you said science educators, not only K-12 teachers, but also people outside of this area.
Yeah.
What did I forget?
Yeah, I mean, and interestingly, the definition of what a science educator is very broad. In the current cohort that's running right now, we have a lady working in the correctional system, and so she is an educator and educating inmates around science in the correctional system, not in a K-12 classroom, which is very interesting. So the ideas and conceptions of where science is taught is very diverse indeed.
And a big concept is outdoors. We have amazing participants in this cohort who are really big on science and environment and teaching in non-traditional settings. We're not only thinking of the classroom.
Yes, indeed.
So that's a variety of people.
So as Marina just said, it brings together lots of different folks. And the idea is that it offers students an opportunity to pursue a wide range of not just research and professional interest in the STEM field of education, but a very strong emphasis on science education. So tell us more about the philosophy, Marina.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that, at least for me, when we envisioned this cohort, was that we cannot separate theory and practice. Every time we separate, the practice suffers, or actually the theory suffers. So we thought how to build a program where the courses are having a common vision. And I actually haven't seen a program that is so cohesive as this one. We've been thinking not only of what is going to be in the course, but what is going, how, what course follows, what course and why. We even moved, do you remember how we decided to change the order of courses? We talk to each other as faculty who teach. So I think this program is a very cohesive and coherent program with a vision to equip teachers with the knowledge that they need to be better science teachers and to apply it not only in a K through 12, but in any environment where they want to apply their knowledge. And also the other issues that I think is very important. Our program is being constantly updated. So it's not something that we're talking to you about something that happened 20 years ago. We're working all the time. And if you ever attended a teachers conference, I'm sure you have, you know how exciting it is. You attend, you learn, but then you come back and you don't implement anything because you're not surrounded by the support people who can help you. I think our whole vision was that the innovation that we discuss, the ideas we discuss, will help you implement them. So at the end of the program, a lot of people do projects and actually share them with their colleagues. I've had a lot of emails where our participants told us that they changed not only their own teaching, but also what happens in their schools, and that's our ultimate goal.
Yes, right. So just a few of the faculty who are involved in the program. I'll just go through these quickly, and then you can look at this recording later on and these folks a little bit more because their faculty web pages are listed there as well. So Mcintosh, he's the head of our department. It's very pleasing and gratifying for us to have a science educator who's the head of our department here at UBC, and he focuses on, in particular, looking at areas of students' alternative understandings and the roots of cultural backgrounds in curricula, and accommodates different kinds of abilities and ideas from different backgrounds into the ways in which pedagogy manifests. And we also have yours truly. This is me. I wear two hats. My field is of course science education. I was a physicist in my undergraduate years, and I've been a science teacher, of course, in the high school system. I moved into the academic field and got very interested in informal science education, and in particular museum education. And so I straddle these worlds very, very comfortably in my own teaching practice and my own research practice. So I've done lots of different kinds of work with young children and metacognition and teacher education reform and lots of different interesting things across the world in terms of different national and geographical contexts.
That is me, and you can read more about me online. But like David, my master's and bachelor is in physics, but I've been also a math and science and physics teacher. And I've been doing science education research, my field, for more than 20 years now. My field is physics and science education and educational technology. And I'm focused also on professional development of teachers. And I would like to say that all people whose photographs you'll see, we have all been teachers, yeah? We know the field because we've been there. We're also researchers, but we are not coming from the theory practice without any experience. We have been where you are.
And then we have Cynthia Nichols. Cynthia works with our math group here in the department, and as I mentioned before, she is the person who's heading up the Masters of Education in Math Education. So she's got lots of different eclectic interests around mathematics education, community culture, and place-based learning and education. So she may be a member of our faculty in terms of the teaching. And one of the beauties of this program is that for those of you who are admitted, you'll have the joy and pleasure of being able to sample some of the mathematics courses if that's your interest. So I'll talk more about the electives a little bit later on, but suffice to say, we don't put up barriers or walls between our students in the two programs, and we try to encourage intercollaboration between the two, as I'm sure it goes on in your own schools. You don't shun your math colleagues, you like to work with them where you can and you find the connections. Tell us about Michelle.
So Michelle is our relatively new addition to the program. Michelle has extensive experience. She has been a teacher. She also worked in Singapore for a while. She has all of us have our PhDs from different places. So Michelle has a lot of experience, and especially she's interested in outdoor education and environmental education. So she comes from the life science. We come from physics. She's from the life sciences, but she's also a published researcher as well as an educator.
And Dr. Sandra Scott. Sandra is a very experienced instructor in science education. She has been working in elementary and environmental education and teacher education for many, many, many years, and also has a passion around the environment. And Lisa Mcintosh. Lisa Mcintosh has been with us in the faculty for more than 12 years. In fact, she works with me in the museum program. Her passion is also informal science education, and she wears two hats. She is the director of learning at the H.R. Macmillan Space Centre here in Vancouver, but she also works with us very closely in this program and in the museum education program.
And did she do her PhD with you?
She was my PhD student a long time ago, yes. I won't say I taught her everything she knows, because that's not true. So a little bit about the course order and how they roll out. So this is probably of great interest to you. So it's a 30 credit point program. So that means that in essence, it's made up of 10 building blocks. And each building block is worth 3 credits. And we do these 10 courses or 30 credits, 10 courses over the space of 2 years and 1 term. So in the first year, which will be starting this September 2020 through to the following August 2021, we do 4 mandatory courses, and the order goes like this. So Introduction to Curriculum, Theories and Issues related to Science Education, which Michelle Tan will be teaching, and she does it, of course, in the context of science education. The next one is Teaching Math and Science Through Technology, which Marina will be taking.
I'll teach, yeah.
Research methods in science education, which is taught by one of our very skilled colleagues who we didn't actually so she'll be teaching that course, and once again it relates to how you do social science research. How do you investigate your own practice as a science educator? How do you investigate questions around science learning and science teaching and science education as a practitioner? And then the last course will be Research and Teaching and Learning of Sciences, which is also Marina.
So I wanted to say that EDCP 562 and EDUC 500, those are mandatory courses in our department. Every student takes them. But in this program, we tailored them to science education. So those are not general courses. Those are very specific courses situated in what people in our cohort care about, science education. So that's why it's so important for us that the people who choose to apply are interested in science education, because that's what we're trying to do.
Yes. And if you've just joined us throughout the program, make sure your mute is off so we can avoid the ambient noise. So if you'd all just check your microphone buttons, just make sure you switch them off. There's some bleeding through of background noise there. Okay, and then we have the opportunity for an elective. So there are 2 electives in the program, and you can do these at any point during the program itself. So it's entirely up to you as to how you schedule this. So we call these discipline-based electives, and electives are courses that you can focus on just as a function of your own interest. So it's entirely up to you as to what you choose and where you might draw these from. For Tia, I can see that your microphone is on. If you wouldn't mind just to make sure that that's off, that would reduce the background noise. Thank you. So let's have a look about where you might draw these from. And so we have a number of different ways in which we can get electives. One, of course, is at UBC. We have lots of courses here that you can draw upon. But we also have arrangements with lots of universities across the country. So McGill, University of Toronto, every major university across this country we have relationships with. And you can do these electives either face-to-face, you might be near a university, or you can select through their online programming electives that you might find rewarding and useful for your own professional development. So the good thing about this is that you don't actually pay for courses that you may do external to UBC. They're all part of your student fee that you pay. There's no additional cost. Tristan, if you just press your mute there and cancel your video, that will be great. There's no additional cost to do these courses as part of your UBC tuition fee. Thanks, Yvette. And then in the second year, which will be September 2021 through to August 2022, there's 3 other courses: Learning Science in Informal Settings, which you do with Lisa Mcintosh, Theory and Research in Environmental Education, which you do with Oksana Bartosh, and then Issues in Teaching and the Learning of the Sciences, which is currently being taught by Dr. Fugo Pan. So, and then you have, of course, the opportunity to do another elective, which takes us through to the remaining term of the course, in which case you can do graduating paper. So there's the opportunity to do a capstone course here, if you wish, that sort of brings this all together in terms of how would you describe it? A self-facilitated or proposed idea that you may have for synthesizing all of your work that you've done. It could be curriculum development, it could be some little research study that you do. And equally, if you choose not to do a 590, there's the opportunity to do a third elective if you wish.
And we wanted to say that some of our students currently are considering applying for a PhD afterwards. And for those people, they might think of a publication or something that they can present when they apply for a PhD, or maybe they want to consider some other field where they want to grow and they want to do a bigger project. So we are ready to support it. So we are, at the end, you might choose an individualized project where you do something that you can show, that's my work, that's what I've created, I'm capable of something more.
Yes, yes. So what I've articulated here, together with Marina, are these building blocks, of which there are 10, which constitute the 30 credit program. So important to note that, and Yvette will talk about this very shortly, in terms of the cost of the program, which is the third area of specialisation, you're paying per term to do this program, and there are 7 terms in the program. That is, means that there's 7 instalments. Mm-hmm. And this means that you're not paying per course, you're paying per term. So if you want more professional development, you wanted to do more courses than the 10 which are outlined in this program, you could potentially do that and it wouldn't cost you any more. So we charge tuition based on term, not based on the number of credits that you can have. But the minimum number of credits that you need to graduate is in fact 30 credits.
And it opens opportunities for summer institutes at UBC, for example. Some people choose a couple of weeks in the summer where they can come here, they meet us, they meet other people face to face, and they work on a specific course where they can finish a course in a few weeks. It's very intensive, but they don't teach, and they feel that's an option. Yes. So electives is a door to do whatever fits your own purposes and goals. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So Laura and Christine, I'm just wondering if either of you are...
Laura was there, I think. Laura, are you here? Oh, there was Laura. I wasn't sure if it was our Laura. Okay.
I told them to join us at 4:30, and that is actually I'm reading 4 minutes away or 3 minutes away. Mm-hmm. So before I proceed any further, and just as we're waiting for Laura and Christina to join us, I'll open it up for a general question. So if you've got some general questions about what we've said thus far, bearing in mind, Vet very shortly is going to talk to you about admission and costs and how you do your application and how they all look. So if you have questions about the academic side, Marina and I would be delighted to answer. And if you've got questions about how to apply, eligibility, costs, all those kinds of things, just hold fire on that, because Yvette will address those issues very shortly. But just for the moment, let me open it up to general questions about the academic side of the program. And you can, there's a chat box you can type into.
You can type if you wish.
Or you can open up your microphone and ask us the question.
Kate has a question. She says, could you take more than the 2 elective courses you can take through UBC, but that is part of your tuition?
Yes, you can. You can take as many courses as you want. So
you can survive.
As many as you can survive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look, to be honest, online courses is a lot of work, and I see if you teach full time, taking 1 is a challenge. Taking 2 is a very
simultaneously.
Big challenge. Simultaneously. Yes. Yeah, but people use summers, and you can take more.
There's another question. Is this program offered every year, and is it offered every 2 years?
Every 2 years.
Yes, it's offered every 2 years. So every 2 years we offer the program, so it's every even year.
The next question: could you take as little as 1 course per term?
That's how the model works. That's the plan. So we recognise you're very busy professionals and you're working full time and you've got families and kids and every other thing going on in your life. So we go together lockstep. So it's 1 course at a time. So 1 term, 1 course. Basically, that's the basic model. So it's manageable. And as Laura and Christina will testify, of course there are busy times, but it's designed to fit in with working professional people.
So I know now how to read. I learned how to read. Yeah. So the question is about electives. David and I were collecting the electives that people have taken so far. New courses pop up all the time. So there are lots of electives, not necessarily at UBC. We have, as you said, what is it called? West Dean's Agreement.
Western Canadian Dean's.
Western Canadian Dean's Agreement that you can take courses at many universities in Canada as an exchange, so you can sign up as long as it's online. Some people take face-to-face courses somewhere else. If they leave, for example, if there is a university there, they can take the course face-to-face there because they want it. So lots of opportunities. Yeah. Could you explain more about how the courses work that you can take at other schools, but your tuition covers it? Oh, David, So the question is this agreement, okay, you go to another university and you find out, let's say, as a hypothetical example, the University of Toronto offers a course online, and you say, I want this course. So you talk to David or myself and say, David, I would like to take this course. The syllabus, because we see how does it fit. We need to approve courses in terms of is it a graduate course? Does it fit our goals? If we feel that it does, we do the paperwork.
Yeah, you fill out a form. It's a 1-page form with the request. You send it to myself or Marina, and that's it. You go and have a nice rest for a few weeks, and then UBC takes care of that processing. UBC contacts that university. They will arrange a seat for you if it's available. And then that university will approve it and it'll come back, and then they will let you know that you're in, and then that's it. So we do the work for you to secure the position for you if it's available.
So the next question, are there scheduled times I need to be available, or do I complete the courses at my convenience? So the courses are, in terms of your convenience, we don't care when you do them in terms of do you work in the morning, do you work at night, do you work in the afternoon, but the courses are scheduled, so you have to keep working, not in sync in terms of to be there every moment, and we don't force synchronous communication, but you work continuously, so you do, oh, hi, our special guest arrived, hi. So we work with, we have a schedule. So Christina is here, but we do have a schedule.
Yeah, so it's asynchronous, and maybe that's a great point that Christina can answer. Hi, Christina. How are you?
Hello. Good. How are you?
Christina is one of our current Master of Education, Science Education students, and the question was just asked, like, how does this all work in terms of your weekly schedule? Like, how does the online world work in terms of these courses? So you're expert because you've done 70% of the program already.
So yeah, the schedule was laid out right from the beginning of what we would be taking. And it's always one course at a time, which is really nice. And pretty much for all the courses, each class is laid out way ahead of time, like you have all your due dates right at the beginning. So that makes it really easy if you're a plan aheader kind of person to put it into your calendar of like when you're going to get certain assignments done, because you know kind of when everything's coming up. And then as far as the electives go, you can kind of pick and choose how you want to make that work. So I chose to do 2 in-person electives last summer and kind of got them done and did them in a summer institute. So I was able to do them actually quite quickly and they were really enjoyable. But you could kind of spread them out however you like, which is nice as well.
But tell us, Christina, in your experience, like how does a regular week online work? So you've got a course and it's week number 2. What happens? You don't have to be there at a particular time. You sort of fit in as a function of your schedule, right?
Yeah. So usually the week will start on a Tuesday in most courses so far. So what's nice is it's really kind of hits on whatever you need it to be for your schedule. So there's definitely some people in our cohort who like to get their posts done right on the Tuesday because they're like ready to go. They're like, that's done for my week. And then they participate in the discussion throughout the week. But usually you're just asked to participate in the discussion kind of at some point earlier in the week, meaning like before the weekend kind of idea. So that gives you some time to schedule that in. So usually for me, I'm doing some of the readings on the Tuesday, or maybe an hour in the evening, kind of reading through things. And then I'll formulate a post on the Wednesday or the Thursday, kind of my main one. And then I participate in the discussions throughout the rest of that week. Whenever I have time, I'll just pop in sometimes for 10 minutes and read through some of the posts and add some of my thoughts. And when I have more time, maybe I'll do a chunk at a time. I'm a calendar person, so I usually schedule in when I'm going to be doing that sort of thing. And then if there's some kind of assignment, usually there's 2 to 4 assignments during a course. I max 3 for the most part, I would say. Those are kind of spread out throughout the course, and I'm usually kind of working on those on the weekends more ahead of time. But I definitely still find that I have free time during this course. Like it's not like it's filling up my entire weekend or anything. So that's been really nice as well. As long as you kind of manage your time in your calendar, it's definitely very doable.
And we should have introduced you in terms of your background, Christina. So you're a teacher, whereabouts?
Yeah, so I live in Kelowna. I am actually a learning assistance teacher at Mount Boucherie Secondary in Kelowna. So that's a really cool thing too, is this program's really flexible and been really great with me about, I originally was a science teacher and I still love science and I help a lot of students with science. So they've really let me be flexible with my interests, and I form a lot of my assignments towards the combination of science and learning assistance, and that's been really cool for me to be able to do that. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Christina. What was the biggest learning experience for you in this program? What was the thing that you had to overcome? Because it is another commitment. And what did you get out of it that you feel so far? For you as a teacher, for you as a person. In other words,
like what's the benefits for you in the program? So what's the benefits of the program to you
for
as a
you?
teacher? Yeah.
And what were the challenges?
I think, okay, so benefits, like really, it's kind of forced time to read research because it's time that I wouldn't usually devote to that. And it's so nice to be up on the research and really have these papers have made available to us and someone kind of curating papers for you, because each prof is giving you these great lists instead of being overwhelmed by a big database. So that's been really great just to be more into that side of things. And also just kind of, it's always on my brain when I'm working now, like thinking about different ways I could be incorporating things. And I think also just hearing from our cohort, like I just learned so much from everyone. Every course we take, I love like that we've all gotten to know each other, and everyone has such different backgrounds that we've been able to really gain a lot of resources and knowledge from each other. So that's been really, really awesome. And then challenges, I guess would be just because it's online, remembering that you don't have to be doing it all the time because it feels like you should be sometimes because it's online, it's always available. So really like teaching yourself to like separate it into certain times during the week and not putting that pressure on yourself to constantly be doing it every hour of the day. And just, remembering to prioritize and that sort of thing. That's probably one of the bigger challenges of doing an online program, especially.
And just to mention that Christina's workshop has been accepted to an international conference that will happen at UBC this summer, which is a big deal. Yeah, so it just shows you that what we're doing here, and not you are doing, we're just helping you. It's recognized internationally, not only by us, but it's.
So Christina, Laura, are you there also? I just wondered.
That's okay.
No, okay. So Christina, I guess it's in some ways counterintuitive to think that your classroom environment in this online world is so cohesive and so supportive and so friendly, like together. And I just wonder if you can talk about that for a moment, because I guess the counterintuitive part is that you tend to think about education as being in a classroom and you know your classmates and you see them and you chat with them face to face in a regular, normal classroom. But this is an online world where you don't see people face to face daily. So can you tell us a bit about the group cohesion and how the colleagues in the program have supported you and helped you and what that environment looks like?
It's definitely more social than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of worried about that because I love being in a classroom. I find it really inspiring to be in a room with other people focused like that. But honestly, it's been so great, especially because we stay together for all of these classes. It's huge. Like we've really gotten to know each other over the last year and a half. And the profs have been great at the beginning, especially about doing some little get to know you activities. And we also created like a Facebook group just for ourselves to kind of stay connected and ask each other little questions and things. And everyone's just been so supportive that way, like sharing resources, checking due dates, and just kind of helping each other out. So that's been really, really great. And there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's usually some kind of group work in each course at some point. So when we do that, most of the time in the groups that I've been in, we'll do like a video chat on Google Hangouts or on here, on Collaborate or something, and we'll chat with each other. And that's been so fun because it's people all over the province, some people in other provinces, and it's just really cool to chat with them. And I've actually met 3 people in our program that have just kind of happened to come through Kelowna and gotten to hang out with them in person too, which has been pretty cool. So it's definitely been a great way to make connections in kind of the education world.
Great. And how about we open it up to you all out there to ask questions of Christina? So you have a live student who's completed 70% of the program.
So, sorry, there is a question. Christina, how many of you are there in the current program?
I think 18, or did we start as 18 and there's 17?
18.
Yeah.
We have 18. We
Okay.
had 19 and a person couldn't continue for personal reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
18.
So if you want to chat or turn your mic on, either one is good to ask Christina a question.
Someone's also asked, on average, how many hours a week do you spend on the program?
It's, someone asked us that at a different thing that we were doing, and I think everyone really tends to vary on this because it's hugely dependent on how you like to read, because there could be like anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5 articles each week, and some people are like a read every single word a bunch kind of thing, and I'm more of like I like to read the abstract and then move through the article in different spaces. So maybe if I broke it up into per night, I maybe do like an hour at night kind of thing of reading and that sort of thing. And then if there's like a big assignment, then I'm spending like a bigger chunk of time. Like I might spend a whole Saturday working on a big assignment, not with the weekly discussions though. Yeah, it definitely varies depending on the course and depending on the number of assignments. But I do work full time and I find it pretty manageable. Although that being said, I do not have a family, but there are people in our programs that have children that have been making it work as well, just to clarify that.
And I wanted to say that, Christina, you are on the high-tech side. You are very comfortable with technology. So, for example, you started using it and other people started following you. Instead of posting, you would record an audio, yeah? Or some
Yeah.
other things. So we're learning from each other, yeah? It's very flexible. We noticed what you were doing that other people said, I want to do that. So
Mhm.
we're very flexible and open to learn from each other.
Yeah, and Christina, would you agree that the platform that we're mediating this through, which is Canvas, has got a lot of power and flexibility? So you can do video, you can do audio, there's a zillion different things you can meet in real time. Lots of things you
Totally. Yeah, it's very flexible. There's like, you can add photos, lots of people put photos in their posts each week. I was doing some video posts in certain courses when the profs were cool with that, which was most of the time, and because I'm more of a verbal person than I am a writer when I can, so I choose to do that. I also use like Google Read and Write to listen to my articles a lot. I've gotten a couple people in our cohort into that because it's nice to hear the articles. Yeah.
So Christina, here is the question. So do you find that the program focuses more on secondary science or elementary? And it's really important because people have to think, do I belong?
Yeah,
It's a
good question.
What do you feel?
I feel like there is a huge variety of people in our cohort. There are elementary teachers, there's middle school, there's high school, there's like an environmental education guy. He's awesome. There's a couple of us that do learning assistance. So it's a big variety. And I think there's lots of room for all of those areas. I wouldn't say there's one specific focus more than the other. We have done some where like the articles were very physics-based or something like that. But that was really like a week-by-week thing. And there's definitely always a way to make it focused on what you're doing. Most of the assignments will be like you're choosing your topic based around the topic of the course. So you're going to make it focused on elementary if you're elementary and that sort of thing. So like I said, I've been able to make mine very support staff focused and on like kids with learning disabilities and that sort of thing. So you could focus yours on grade 5 or focus your assignment on like middle school science or what have you. Yeah.
But you always introduced this, it was always around science. I remember you did an assignment on vocabulary, correct?
Yeah.
So science vocabulary. So if not you, Christina, if you or the people who are applying are not focused on science, maybe it's not the best program for you. We have other programs.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely very science-based. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you think of maybe your focus is technology, we have MET, yeah, we have online Master's in Educational Technology program. We have other areas. We here do focus on science. So it can be elementary, middle school, yeah, or secondary, but it is a science cohort with a very clear focus.
Yeah,
Definitely science and also STEM, like we do. Yes. We've talked a lot about STEM, a lot about like gender and females in science, and we're right now doing environmental education course. Our particular cohort has been very focused on nature-based learning and outdoor ed and that kind of thing because a lot of us seem to be passionate about it, so that comes up a lot just as a general theme. So yeah, but all definitely around science. Yeah.
And what about science technology? I'm not sure about science technology what is meant. If educational technology in science teaching, we do, at least in my course, I try to discuss it a lot. And I think we do talk a lot about technology and we use technologies, but I'm not sure what it means. The question was science technology. But we do focus on STEM and look at the intersections.
I think one of the big strengths that maybe you're sort of alluding to there, Christina, is that we have content that we're mediating through the courses, but you contextualize this in whatever kind of a teacher or teaching environment you're in. So whether you're elementary, secondary, or community educator or a correctional centres educator, whatever it is, you're mediating this in your own world and practice.
And just to tell you how engaged people are, do you remember maybe, Christina, how we had one of our colleagues in the summer, she was lucky to go to Rome. So from Rome, she was making posts about the science aspects of what she was seeing. It was so cool. So we got information that we would have never gotten if the person were in the classroom. So it was amazing how people brought things that would have never gotten.
We've had lots of students who are in the online programs. They're on holidays in Barcelona or someplace, and then they're posting away and chatting and participating in the class, even though they're up the Andes Mountains or Machu Picchu or some such place.
But they do share the scientific aspect of their travels, which is amazing. Yes.
Okay, so any final questions for Christina before we let her go free?
Somebody said, thank you. You have been very helpful, and we want to echo that. Thank you so much, Christina, for
my pleasure. I'll put my email address in the chat if anyone wants to email me like a specific question, okay?
That's
it would be
kind.
amazing.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye, Christina. Have a good
Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
It's not raining in Kelowna. Lucky them.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
So let's continue our discussion with Yvette. So Yvette is going to have a chat with us about the issues around the requirements to get into the program, the overview of the application, tuition fees, and then we'll wrap it up by a final round of Q&A. So Yvette, tell us all about the process here. What do we do to get into this program?
Hi everyone, my name is Yvette and I'll be covering some of the all of the admission requirements as well as the application process. So we're looking for a completed 4-year undergraduate degree in education and or science. You have anything to add to that? Either of you?
Yeah, so the minimum requirement is a bachelor's degree, and of course you need to have demonstrated experience as an educator. So the experience of an educator is typically that you've been a teacher, okay? But if not a teacher, we've had...
Or worked in a museum,
or a correctional centre, or there's a wide variety of interesting places where you manifest your practice as an educator. But experience as an educator is vital, and I know all of you have that already.
We're also looking for a GPA of B+, which is 76% at UBC in all of your senior level courses, which are 300 level and above, or if you're at a B or a B- range, which is 68% to 75% at UBC, with a 4-year undergraduate degree plus a B.Ed, then you would also meet the GPA requirement. But if you do not meet either of those criteria, then your application is considered a special case. In which case, if the admissions committee feels that you are a good candidate for the program, they will write a special case on your behalf to the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. We also ask you to order 2 official sealed transcripts from all post-secondary institutions you've attended except for UBC, because I would have access to UBC and UBCO records. We ask you to upload each of your transcripts front and back in a single file as a PDF. And if you've done any exchange programs, we also need to see those transcripts. And please ensure that your transcripts state that you have graduated. We ask you to include the back of your transcript, which usually has a transcript key, or sometimes they call them grading scale. And what it does is it provides me with the value of the letter grades on your transcript so I can calculate your GPA. We're also looking for a 2-page statement of intent, 600 words, outlining your reasons for enrolling in this program and what it is you hope to achieve upon completing the program. Do you have anything to add, David or Marina?
Just that, you're just trying to convince the committee with that statement of intent as to why you want to do the program and how this is going to benefit you professionally. And in terms of the CV, that's very important to note that this is not an employment CV, it's an academic CV, and that means you shouldn't cheat yourself by being brief or concise. You should elaborate. So please list all of your accomplishments, whether that's volunteer teaching or an article that you may have published in a newsletter, or committee work, or workshops that you have conducted or designed or facilitated, or involvement in the community as an educator. So put all of that stuff down, because you want to convince the committee that you are an experienced educator and you're ready for this next step to take on graduate work at UBC to better your career.
So we're also looking for a resume listing all of your professional and academic accomplishments.
That's it.
Any publications, everything.
Yeah, everything.
But I would have called it a CV. I recently learned the difference because it's more expensive. And remember, you're trying to show not only what you will get out of it, but how you can contribute to this cohort. So I would say it's both ways. Yeah, what can you do to make it an interesting learning experience for all of us?
We're also looking for 3 references, 1 academic and 2 professional references. Your professional references should be from people who have supervised you. Do you want to speak to this point regarding academic and professional references?
Yeah, I can just say I got a lot of emails with questions. Some of you maybe graduated a long time ago, and you say, oh, the professor doesn't remember me, which is a reality for some of us. So then academic reference, you can also talk to maybe the board, chair of your board, or somebody, maybe even the head of your school, the principal, excuse me,
head of your school.
Yes, to talk about your academic ability. That's not so that you can study, that you can
think critically.
Think exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if when you ask somebody for a reference, we can read. Sometimes the person writes a reference. You can see it's 3 sentences and that's it. Make sure the person has the time. It is very often helpful. If the person says yes, you can say, I will list a few things that you would like to mention. I feel it's absolutely appropriate because they might not remember what workshops you have done. Give them your CV, for example. You help them write a good letter.
Tia, if you would just press your mute button, that would be helpful because there's a noise bleeding through. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. That's okay. So I think we can go on. Yeah.
So when you submit your application, your referees will get what is called an e-reference link. So the emails that you provide for your application, in your application, cannot be free email addresses like Yahoo or Hotmail or Gmail. They should have company or an organization email address, or else the e-reference link will not go out to them. And there is instruction on the application as well. I suggest that right now, because March 2nd is not that far away, and that's the application deadline, that if you're serious about applying to the program, to apply, but to add your personal details, your referee detail, and then to submit the application, and then to re-enter the application to upload your transcripts, your statement of intent, resume, so that there's not too much of a delay of your references coming into the system.
And that's a very good point. We often get an email from our former students, could you please submit it by tomorrow? And I can say that I'm not always available to do it. So unfortunately, I have to tell a person, no, I cannot do that. So please give them a couple of weeks. And also, if everybody will be submitting at the very last moment, the system might crash or other things can happen. Our strong recommendation to think and submit it early, which will make you less stressed. Yeah.
Yes, that will be better. And you can open up your applications today. So developing an online application doesn't mean that you submit it today. It's actually progressive development. So you can open it up and begin to work on it, put it down for a couple of days, contact your referees, find your documents, upload those documents, and as you get closer to the deadline, it won't be so stressful for you to make that submission. And you can submit early. So we've already got several submissions already, so it doesn't hurt you at all to be proactive, and get the application complete and upload it early. You don't have to wait until March the 2nd.
Now, if one of your referees is a retired professor and they no longer are working at a university college, they could mail in the reference letter to me and ask them to sign the seal on the flap of the envelope before they mail it off.
Yeah, really important to realise that you're not the one collecting the references and uploading it. It's the referees who independently upload this to the system or mail it physically to Yvette.
David, could you please review once again who would qualify as an academic referee?
So academic referees are those people who have taught you in the university system.
But I would say not necessarily university but I think those are people who can have the knowledge to testify about your academic ability. Because if the person studied 20 years ago, maybe they cannot find those professors. So as you said before, if it is the principal of your school and you developed workshops, you have done, they can attest to your academic abilities.
Right.
You said
Right.
critical thinking, ability to learn new things, ability to articulate your ideas. That's how I would.
Okay, I won't disagree with that.
Okay, so I hope we answered this question online. All right.
Someone has asked when the application is complete, if they're notified. Yes, I will notify you. So English language assessment, this applies to applicants from a university outside of Canada in which English is not the primary language of instruction. They must provide results of an English language proficiency examination as part of their application. Tests must have been taken within the last 24 months at the time of submission of your application. If this applies to you, please contact me.
And my question is, we have students who had their bachelor degree outside of Canada, and they did their B.Ed here. If they have their B.Ed from UBC English.
It's a case by case. I would have to look at the document.
Yvette, yeah, thank you.
We're also asking you to fill out a part-time acknowledgement form. And this is that this form states that you acknowledge that this is a part-time program. So if you could fill out the form, sign it, and then upload it to the question where it's being asked, we'd appreciate it. And please add your student ID number or application number. Now, how to apply? You would go to grad.ubc.ca/apply/online. And when you do your program search, you can either put in a Master of Education in Science Education Professional Cohort or SCE2 and September start. And please, if you have a UBC student ID, please use that ID for your application.
It will allow you to upload and match all the documents.
Because then your application will your UBC records will populate your application.
Perfect.
As well, we're asking you to upload all of your supporting documents, transcripts, statement of intent, resume. And we do not require a writing sample. The online application is open. The deadline is March 2nd. And the for domestic applicants, the application fee is $106. And for international applicants, it's $168.25 Canadian. So if you are a Canadian citizen living abroad, working abroad, you are paying the domestic rate. The international rate is for non-permanent residents and non-Canadian citizens. Now, tuition fees. Now, the current tuition fee installment is $21.63 Canadian plus student fees. And I will discuss student fees shortly. So the current program tuition cost is $15,141 Canadian plus student fees. If you are an international student, then you would the tuition fee installment cost would be $22.0541 Canadian plus student fees. And the international program tuition cost is currently $15,437 and change Canadian plus student fees. Now, student fees vary from term to term. Like last term, it was approximately $745. but it's less as the terms progress. Winter term 2 is less, and then the summer terms is even lesser than that. So the tuition is paid over 7 installments, which equals 7 terms, which is your 2 years plus a term. You're paying 3 times a year, September, January, and May. You are charged a whole program fee, not a per credit fee. That's why you can take these elective courses, and your tuition will cover the tuition of your elective courses. And the university typically raises the fee every year around May.
Okay, can I just ask everybody who's online to please check your mute is off. We're getting a lot of bleed of noise here. So if everybody would please mute your microphones. And I'm seeing there's a participant, Fatia, I can see you there, but you not seem to get your microphone on. So are you able to mute all mics at all? No, okay. Let's keep going. Thanks, everyone.
Student fees are charged in addition to tuition, and they vary from term to term. So one fee that you could opt out of, and that is a possible savings, is the health and dental plan. It's currently $256.92 per year. So there's an opt-out provision available, as well as the Compass card. If you do not live in the Greater Vancouver area and our transit system doesn't reach you, then you could apply for exemption from this Compass card, which is currently $164 per term, but you would have to apply for exemption each term. But that's also a possible savings. If you do live in the Greater Vancouver area, then you would have to pay this cost, even though it is an online program. It would allow you to travel in 3 zones on public transit. Teacher education certificate. So if you're a teacher in the Vancouver Lower Mainland, and you've taken on sponsor teacher, or you have a colleague that maybe has these certificates, and if they have not expired, you could use them towards your tuition as well. So if you are a teacher in the Vancouver Lower Mainland, that may be something that you want to explore and ask your colleagues if they have any, and follow up with the teacher education office.
Yvette, I have a quick question. Because this cohort is online, can we apply for certain student fee exemptions? For example, rec fees, student council, student activity fee, etc.
The student fees are approved by the UBC Board of Governors, and you would have to contact them about each of those fees. And that's
the two common ones are the health and the UPass.
exactly.
That's people get the exemptions.
Yeah,
exactly.
So just on the teacher education certificate, so this is a great way to reduce your tuition costs. So if you are in the Lower Mainland and you take on a student teacher, you get some credits from UBC, which you can apply to the program, which makes things cheaper.
Not only Lower Mainland. Some people take on our students who are outside of the Lower Mainland. It all counts. Alona?
Yeah.
It doesn't apply to teachers in other provinces.
Excuse me, what?
The teacher education certificates.
No, that applies to the teachers who mentored our teacher candidates from the UBC teacher education. So if you had teacher candidates from UBC in your classroom, yes. But as far as I know, they go to BC.
Yes. So normally get about the validity of the certificates. Do you know how long they last?
No, they have a different expiry date on each of them.
Okay.
But if you know that you're going to be in the program and you decide to supervise a teacher, you can use this.
Yeah.
You can earn it.
And can you?
It used to be, excuse me, the teacher education certificates, I think, used to expire in a year, but it really depends on when you
Okay.
request and.
Am I under the impression that you can use your colleagues' teacher education credits?
Yes.
So if you have some teacher colleagues in your school that have taught student teachers and they're not using them, you might want to say over a friendly beer one day, hey, can I use your teacher education certificate credit because that helps me? Mm-hmm. Because they're going to expire.
And you're not going to use them.
And you're not going to use them, so.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our contacts, and Yvette, are we getting there? I think you can see our contacts. We're ready to answer the questions that Yvette might have not answered, and we'd like to remind you that if you have questions that we have not answered, you always can email us. Here's our information. Either David or myself regarding tuition or...
No. Academic issues to myself or Marina, and tuition and admission issues.
Tuition is
Yvette.
Yeah. Any questions? Would you count to transfer credits from another university, graduate courses specifically?
It's a case-by-case basis, and that can only be determined once you're admitted. So we need to meet a particular criteria. That is, it has to be at the 400 level or above, has to be relevant to your program, has to be at a recognised university, has to have minimum achievement in the course. Like, is it 80% or something? Something like that. And then it has to be approved by myself or Marina, the graduate coordinator, which is Marina, and then the faculty of graduate studies.
In addition to what David is saying, the course or courses cannot be used to enter the program. Yes. So if it's part of your undergraduate degree, then you cannot use it twice, once to get into the program and then again to get a credit for it.
Yeah, they've got to be non-classified, so that means you can't apply it to another degree.
No, but I think the question was from a person who already has done 2 extra courses in a graduate program elsewhere. Mm. And if you're applying and you're not using it for the application, we will consider it.
Right. Can the program be done full-time? No, the answer is no. So it's a part-time program only. It goes lockstep over 2 years and 1 term. Is the majority of the content of the course transferable to teachers outside of BC?
Of course.
Of course. We have teachers in Saskatchewan who are doing the course. So if
from Quebec. Is it a 5 or is it a 5 or 10 year limit on courses that are not part of your program?
You mean to transfer in, Dawn? If you're transferring credits, as UBC has a 5-year rule. So the course credits cannot be more than 5 years if you're going to attempt to transfer them.
Yes, I have my Bachelor of Science, I do not know what it means, BSH, and BEd already, currently in MEd. So if a person wants to transfer, that is, you apply for UBC and then we consider those courses.
Yes.
Would I get the official transcript sent to me personally so that I can upload them, or can I order the transcript directly to UBC admissions?
No, please order the official transcripts and have them mailed to you. You'll open one transcript, upload it to your application front and back, but the other one should remain sealed. So if you're admitted to the program, then you will be asked to mail the sealed transcript to the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies.
I teach French immersion, and I would like to focus on science in French immersion programs. Is it possible to do some of the projects in French? Well, I would probably say most of you mean submit the assignments in French? Is that what you're saying there, Marie Camilla? Yeah, no, I'd probably say the answer is no, because unfortunately, we are all Anglophones here in the program. I'm pretty sure we're all Anglophones, is that right?
Yeah,
so it would be difficult for us to manage the program in French or submissions in French.
No, but if you submit in English and you decide to translate and use it in your classroom in a French setting, of
Yes.
course, but
Yes.
we just cannot provide you feedback in the language that we personally do not speak. Any other questions?
Okay, so just pause one moment here, just in case there's a final question that's going to pop up. But I think, and did we answer all of your questions that you submitted as you registered for the session? Because we saw quite a lot, and I think that we've covered most of them, but if not, let us know.
And we would like to wish you a successful application process. We hope that you will make the right decision for you.
Yes, and if we can assist you further, or you want to talk to us on the phone, please feel free to do that. Once again, Marina and I are academic issues. The vet deals with all issues related to admissions, eligibility, tuition, application, all those kinds of things.
And I think Christina was very generous by putting here her email somewhere. And she said that she would be okay if you were to ask her a question. I think it's much, there was somewhere, here it is, I can see Christina's email, christina.drescher@gmail.com. So you can email her and ask questions regarding the program. So we are not present. It can be between Christina and you.
Yes, you can ask the students themselves and get the first hand. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure. Don't hesitate to get working on those applications. Don't hesitate to submit them early. You don't have to wait until the 2nd of March to do that. So on behalf of Yvette and Marina and myself, thank you for joining us today and looking forward to reviewing your applications when they're submitted. Thank you.
Yeah.